Hey everyone, it looks like we are live. We made it to yet another Wednesday. How cool is that? I'm so glad to see everybody. And let's see who we have here today. We have Mr. Dan all the way from Indianapolis. Great to see you. How's everything? And we have Mr. Roy from New Jersey. How are you? And Colette from the Atlanta area. So great to see you. How are you today? I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate that so much. So today is probably the completion or very close to the completion of this painting, The Angel. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited you are all here to go over this together. So thank you so much for hanging. I really appreciate that so much. And so, yeah, ending a painting is not an easy thing. It's knowing when to say, okay, I did everything that I could, as well as checking off, did you achieve the objectives that you had from the very beginning? Hey, Eastside, how you doing? Great to see you, my friend, all the way from Instagram. So cool you're here. So that was great. Love your work on Instagram. So fantastic. So great to see you, Eastside 1019. Thanks so much for hanging with me. I appreciate that so much. It's so cool to see people from different platforms, right? Like Colette and Roy are from the Facebook platform. Eastside is from the Instagram. You meet people from different places, and it's nice when we can meet each other like that, which is really amazing and fun. So that's really, really cool. And I'm really always honored when people take time out of their busy Wednesday to spend with me. So I appreciate you, Eastside. I just want you to know that. So I usually do something like a checklist, right? So I'll go over, things that I can do to make this painting as best to my ability. And one of the things that you really always want to take and consider, always try to do the best painting where you are. Don't think about this artist or that artist. Do your best painting, and are you exceeding your expectations of where you are right now, and do your best job. That is just so very important. So never compare yourself to another artist or compare yourself to someone else on Facebook or YouTube or anything. Always do your own best, and realize that if you do your best today, tomorrow your best is going to be even better. So keep striving, keep pushing yourself, but never compare yourself. Okay, so I hope that helps. So when you're doing the painting, don't worry about, do the best job of where you are now. So let's see, we have Dwayne all the way from San Luis de Obispo. Great to see you. Go Mustangs, not banana slugs. We have Gary. How's it going, Gary? All the way from the Hershey, Pennsylvania area. So good to see you, sir. That is so cool. Thank you guys for spending time with me. So great. Thank you so much, Dwayne. It's so good to see you, and so good to see you, Gary. So let's see. Enough of me and more art. So let's see here. I'm going to... There we go. Now let's see if I could go ahead and put a reference photo here. Let's see. I think I have the reference photo still here, or I just have to go get it. Yeah, let's see. We'll go to image. There we go. Okay, so that's the image we're working from. I'll just put that right here so you have an idea of what's going on. Mr. Dwayne, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate that. Thank you for your time and hanging out and your expertise and your support. So I appreciate you, Dan. It's great to see you. And so we have Mr. Steve Leahy. Great to see you, sir, all the way from Ohio. Astral, all the way from the UK. Great to see you guys. Thank you so much for hanging. I appreciate it. I am out of seltzer, so I'm going to have to go get some in a little bit. So thanks again, Mr. Dwayne. Always a pleasure, and thank you so much for supporting the channel. It means a lot. Oh, that's okay. I know you're very busy, so like I said, I'm honored whenever anyone stops their busy day to come hang out with me. So thank you for that. So my airbrush has been parked for the last day or so. I would say the last 2 days, and my compressor's off. So let me go ahead and turn my compressor on. I'll be right back. So you hear the compressor going off there. Get rid of what's in the airbrush. I was working on some India ink paintings with my students, which was a lot of fun. And let's see, got to get a paper towel, my water, all that fun stuff. And I'll bring in some of my seltzer. So I got my water, even though I'm using mostly Wicked Pink tonight, which is great. Oh, Gary says that's what he loves about all the artists that he follows and buys from. You all share your artistic talents and encourage people to do your best. Yes, that's so true, Gary. And it's more evident in the airbrush world than the regular fine art world, but there are cool people in the fine art world too. I'm kind of living in both worlds right now, which is cool. And as I'm exhibiting more in the fine art world, it's nice to be part of both, like a conduit between the two of them. And that's what I really trying to do, is connect the two worlds, right? It's very important to do that. We can learn more from each other than anything else, right? Than competing. So it's important to learn from one another. That's for sure. And great people like yourself, Gary. You know, it's always wonderful to see someone who is a real patron of the arts, and that's great to see, definitely. And we appreciate you. That's for sure. And so now we're gonna look and kind of figure out, okay, what can I do to make this a better painting? We're kind of at that point, right? And Mr. Dave, how's it going all the way from the Texas area? Great to see you, sir. So glad you're here. Thanks for hanging. I appreciate that so much. So, you know, you want to kind of look around and find something, and right here at her cleavage here, it is a little bit unsaturated. And the word chroma is also used for saturation. And chroma is Latin or Greek for color. So saturation is color. So when someone says it needs more saturation, just break it down to whatever language it came from, and it means color. So when they use fancy words like saturation or chroma, just means more color. That's all that means, you know. Gary says, in your opinion, why don't airbrush artists and their work get the notoriety, acknowledgement as other art forms? Great question. So it has to do with where airbrush kind of originated. It was commercial art, you know. It was stuff like, you know, a lot of times it was just used for, you know, back World War II, you know, to spray paint the pinup girls on the B-17s and stuff like that. And it was more done for commercial uses. Fine artists didn't use it as much. I think if fine artists used it more, and it was known for that more primarily, then it probably wouldn't be seen as such a commercial art tool at this point. But I feel just like any other tool, just like a fan brush or uh, an eraser or a pen, it's not the tool that's important, but what is the intent? Is the person making something beautiful for non-commercial means, right? And so I think that's important. You know, art for art's sake is really, uh, where art is considered fine art. And I think as more artists are doing that, that stigma is going to go away. Great question, Gary, definitely. Astral says he watched a painting restorer, revive an old work that someone had botched up with an overpainting. They glued the canvas to a foam board to add insult to injury. It was great to see how it was repaired. Yes, that is great. You know, art restorers are really amazing. You know, because some paintings are just in horrifying shape, right? So I can see how, you know, thank God for art restorers, because some paintings would be gone forever. But thank God, you know, we do have people who dedicate their lives to that science, which I think is wonderful. So I want to add some color. And so I wanted to be a very rich red color. And I think I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use this one, which is, I think detail burnt orange is a little too much color, right? So let's see. So I'm looking for something, maybe like a red iron oxide or something. And Steve says, artists like Peter Meyer, Audrey Lack, Chuck Close have helped bring the airbrush into the fine art. Tim is a big part too, being the artistic lineage of artists like Dinnerstein. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, the tool never defines the artist or the art. And I think it's so important to always know that. Just because someone's using oil paints doesn't mean that they're using it in a sophisticated manner. And, you know, someone could use a ballpoint pen and create amazing works, but the ballpoint pen was not intended for that. So it's really just people getting over the prejudice of a particular medium. But I will go on to say that in airbrush, it's less. Hey, Nick, how's it going all the way from Minnesota? How are you today, sir? I will venture to say that the people who are doing it in the old ways are actually being edged out by the people doing airbrush for the sake of art. Mr. Gary, thank you so much. How are you today? Mr. Gary, thank you so much for the super chat. That is so incredible. And like I said, Gary, we all appreciate you and what you do for the airbrush world, and how you encourage everyone. It is just so incredible. And I just want to thank you for all the encouragement you have given me, sir, and continue to give me, Gary. You know, it's not an easy thing, but great people like yourself really give us that tonic to keep going, that shot in the arm we need. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, sir. And that is so cool. And thank you so much, more importantly, for your friendship. That is the best. So I'm looking for my 4011, and I haven't gotten the 4021 yet. I will try and get a hold of that soon and do a really good video, because I know a lot of people are really interested in that, right? So the color I'm using is Wicked Red Oxide. It's a little red, you know, it doesn't have as much brown in it, but I'm going to use it. It's a very transparent color. So my thought is, I'm just going to put a little bit there, and then we'll just go ahead and kind of glaze that, right? Using a fine art term, is, it's important to use glazing and scumbling techniques and stuff like that. So I feel that artists like Rembrandt, Michelangelo, if they had airbrushes, they sure would have used them, right, guys? I think so. So Nick says, anything is better than 4012. 4012 did have some challenges, right, sir? That's for sure. But thank God our friends at Createx did right the ship, so that is cool. Thank God, right? So I'm going to just kind of create a little bit of a shield, right? Shield the dress, and we're just going to hit that. So at the end of a painting, there's very little things, very small things that you're going to be needing to do to complete that painting, and that's basically where we are today. No big things. If the painting was not, if nothing else was done with the painting, it would have been, if nothing was done over, nothing else with the painting, it wouldn't hurt the finished product, so to speak. So I just had India ink in there. So I'm just going to take a paper towel, and I'm just going to wipe this clean. I mean, it wouldn't hurt if there was a little bit of the transparent India ink in there. It mixes quite well with the Createx. Okay, so let's put a little bit in here. And always remember that I always make sure that it works before I go near my painting. So I have my scrap piece of paper, which is the same paper, and I'm going to make sure. This is the first airbrushing of the day. I was oil painting today. And looks like everything is spraying well. The main thing you want to do is just, go ahead and pull down the trigger, push down, make sure no paint's coming out, make sure everything's good, no surprises, and some great conversation going on. Steve says he's been using leftover 4012 as an airbrush cleaner, and Nick says he was going to say that. It technically did reduce the paint. That's true. And Mr. Dave says, at Dwayne, especially the opaque white, it seems to curdle almost immediately. I stopped using it after the first. Dwayne, yeah, 4012, Dwayne, was a little bit of a challenge, right, at times. It didn't play well with the Wicked paints, I don't feel. So I'm adding a little life to that cleavage. Chroma, remember, I believe in Greek and Latin is color, so that's where that comes from. So just like with anatomy, you want to know what something does, just go ahead and, find the origin of that word. Chances are it will tell you everything about it that you need to know. So true. Let's see. So now I added just this beautiful kind of transparent color to that cleavage, and it's doing everything I wanted to do. That's the beauty of the detail line of Wicked. So I went ahead and I deleted it 1-to-1 with the 4011, and that worked out really well. And since I have this beautiful red oxide color, I'm going to glaze. Now I don't have to worry about blue shift because it's so orange anyway that it's almost impossible to have a blue shift in my experience. And I really love the fact that I'm adding some of this warmth to her body, which is nice, right? It really is. And the old candy carrier can't remember the number. Oh, okay, very cool. Wow, yeah. That's the great thing about the folks over at Createx. They really listen to us and they listen to us, and it's just really great that they always are, committed to having a giving us a perfect product to do what we want to do, whether it's commercial or fine art, right? That's the beauty of it. So I really feel that Createx is really also listening to the fine artists. And what makes me say that is that they're using colors like raw umber and raw sienna and sepia and uh, cerulean blue. That's telling us that they're not leaving the fine artists out in the cold. As they're taking care of of course, the amazing custom painters, but also looking out for the fine artists too. So, three cheers for them for that. So now I'm just going to add some of this. And now, it's like I don't care about whether I'm looking like a photo. I'm caring right now of making it look like what my vision was in my head when I started it and going towards that direction. Photorealism is a wonderful thing if that is your goal, right? But it's not every artist's goal. You know, uh, I started studying quantum mechanics, and quantum mechanics is a real interesting uh, viewpoint of uh, in science. I mean, it's more more the mystery of light, where light is also light is a particle and a wave at the same time, and the particles of light behave differently whether or not you're looking at it. It's really quite fantastic, and you know, things being in two places at once. I mean, it's really like if you're going into science, quantum mechanics is the closest to fine art I think that you could go. You know, Astral says a fellow philosopher. Yeah, I'm really into quantum in the study of light, right? Because light is what we're painting. That is what's happening. It's a chemical reaction to these photons and particles, and it's just sort of, this energy is reacting to other energy, and it's really wild when you get into it. It is sort of like, a rabbit hole when you get into it, but I really feel there's secrets to painting that are in quantum mechanics, and that's kind of, and also the study of light and physics and the study of anatomy, and so there is a real science to painting that I really enjoy. So right here it's a little bit warmer, so I'm going to come in. So I'm using this Wicked Red Oxide, and it's a really great color. If you don't have it, I highly recommend it. It is 0012. It's part of the Wicked, so it's not Wicked Detail. But even colors like that tell me that Createx is the only company that is geared to really serving the airbrush artist. Other companies might try to go ahead and create paint for airbrush artists, but I don't think I know no one comes close to Createx. And Nick says you'll probably will when this bottle is gone. Oh, cool. I'm sure they will come put with a new carrier soon and tell us not to use a 4050. Oh, I love 4050. How Steve uses it is really incredible. I mean, he's a real master, Steve, of the chemistry of airbrush paint. So definitely check out his channel you really can't lose, you know, just like, you know, you can't lose if you look at Mr. Drew Blair's work, if you ever get a chance to see him down in South Carolina. It can only help your art immensely. So same thing, you know, looking at Steve Leahy's work. If you go to his live streams, I mean, it can only help you. You're not going to go to Steve's live stream and be like, wow, what do I do now? You're always going to come from his live stream being, man, I got to try that. That is genius. And I hear that from so many artists, but I can only tell you from experience what happens when I go to his live streams. So definitely check him out. It's really important, you know. You know, a lot of people might say, you know, YouTube, you know, you don't get the great experience in YouTube because it's not in-person classes or long-form classes. But that's just inaccurate. You know, you have great painters out there who are just giving their time for the love of sharing, right? And, you know, and I think that's kind of the artist spirit, isn't it? You know, that, okay, you know, this is really fun. I don't want to keep it to myself. And I think that's really nice. So definitely, if you have a chance, it's on Mondays at 6. And definitely support artists like that. If you're seeing everyone who's here, I don't have to tell them you guys support artists all the time. So I'm not telling you all. But if you're watching this maybe a year from now or 6 months from now, you know, really help out artists like that, you know, like what Steve is doing, because he's just doing it for the love of the game, you know, like that movie of that baseball player. So I took that red iron oxide and I'm kind of bringing it up here like this and getting that richness, right? You know, sort of being more intuitive at this point as opposed to being analytical. There's a time to be analytical, to worry about anatomy and the way light falls on form and shadows and edges, but there's also a time and place to be intuitive and say, you know what? This needs to be darker. I don't know how I'm going to achieve it, but it needs to be darker, and that kind of stuff. And Dwayne says he paints a lot of motorcycle and metal stuff. That's great. And he's been using a lot of Wicked trans base. That's cool. So yeah, great information just on the live stream. If you go to the live streams, like tonight, we have great artists and great patrons of the art here, and so you can't lose. You definitely can't lose by following artists on YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that. It's a win-win. Just taking a swig of my seltzer. Okay, now let's see. What is it that I can do? I warmed that up. I feel good about that. Now, the way that I work is really, and I'm not against erasing, it's just the way I work on gray paper, right? And I shellac it after a black and white underpainting using my Airbrush India inks. And then I go over it with color. So if I start erasing, you don't know what you're going to get. At this point, you don't want to go and experiment. This is the time where you play it safe and make these little tiny changes, right? So I'm going to take this, and what I want to do is maybe use some paintbrush techniques, right? So let's see. I want to add sort of like an alizarin crimson color, right? So I'm going to look for an alizarin crimson. And, you know, when you have places like the nostril or other dark chasms in the face, you want it to have a lot of life. You don't want to have black or a dark brown. Even if you see it and it is a black or a dark brown, really think about it. Is that what you want? You want it to be like a hole in her face, or do you want it to have life and vibrancy? There's something called subsurface scattering, which is a quantum mechanics kind of term where light would go into a kind of boneless area of the face, and it will go into that boneless area of the face like the nostril or the ear, and it would scatter and move around and then come out the other side, and it's usually this beautiful orange color. And so that's why you probably want to have more of a red color in those shadowy areas, right? So very important. Oh, Astral says, little did he know that he'd be chatting to guys like Steve, who we used to read in Airbrush Action Magazine 20 odd years ago. Yes, life is good. That is so great. Exactly. I mean, think about it. You get to watch Steve Leahy every week. I mean, I remember when I was in classes of great painters, and at the end of the year, only for 2 weeks did you get to watch Harvey Dinnerstein paint in front of you. And I remember my 3rd and 4th year with him, I made sure I was like right behind him. I used my seniority to make sure that I got that spot. And I would hardly paint. I would just watch him and just kind of absorb it. And it was really a rare occurrence. And now we get to see artists like that over and over again. How wild is that, right? Before I come in with the next color, I want to bring some life to the top part of this beautiful angel's wing. There we go, just a little bit of life there. I like that, kind of had that glow, that ethereal kind of feel, right? Wayne says he hated also, Nick, he's not fond of CC and the cutting buffing. Interesting. Very cool. Thanks for that information, sir. Okay, so we're going to be looking for a nice red, but a deep red, right? So here's some reds. Detail Scarlet. Nope. Even though it's a beautiful Wicked line. And like I said, I'm becoming more enamored with the Wicked brand lately, and I'm just going with it. You know, I know that they say that the illustration line is best for my kind of work, but no, it isn't. I like the idea of the way that the Wicked line kind of feels. It feels more fine art to me. It feels like I have more room to do things more artistically. So I do like that. So let's see. I am going to continue looking here. Look at this one. This is a very interesting color. Have you guys seen this? Wicked Opaque Black Oxide. Wow, that looks wild. So this is like a real interesting dark brown, right? So maybe if we mix this in with the scarlet, what could we get, right? Could that be what I'm looking for? So let's see. Dwayne says that a good friend of his does custom car paint, so he lets them do all but the art. Wow, cool. Okay, so and so you know we have this here. Give it a good shake. It's brand new. I'm gonna have my cup. I think this is gonna be a little bit of a. There's gonna be a little bit of a fine art brushwork here. I think we're gonna go down that road. Wow, if you get a chance, this is a wild color, Wicked Opaque Black Oxide. This is really, really interesting. Let's take a look at it. Wow, it is really something. I'm going to add some of the 4011 to it. Let's see how it looks. This is great. Anyone out there use this color? It's part of the... No, it's a Wicked Opaque color, but it's not the detail line. So I love that. Not that I don't super love the Wicked detail. That's like my go-to. Let's see. What I do with my 4011, it was here just a moment ago. There it is. Under. Okay. Put this right here. Let's kind of shake this up here. It's like a rich red black, but it kind of has a shift to the brown. So, you know, orange and black make brown. So that's what's happening there. But it's a real vibrant brown. So I like that. So now let's take this color, which is Detail Scarlet. We looked at that. So you see, you know, look how close these colors are. Here's Permanent Rose by Winsor & Newton Oil Paints. And let's give this a shot here. So we're looking to paint some subsurface scattering. Mr. Todd, how are you all the way from San Diego? It is super great to see you. Look at that color. Now it's interesting, it's quite fascinating how the red, the scarlet, really held its own next to that opaque black oxide. Is that the color? Opaque black oxide. So we're going to put some more of this opaque black oxide in there. Okay. And if you get a chance, go to the art store or at Amazon and get yourself some of these plastic palette knives. They're really great. It's a real strong dark color. Now it might be nice as a kind of glaze. I know glaze usually goes on top of light colors, but let's see how this works nonetheless. I have my water here, and I'll use this for my dry brush method. Okay. Look at this really amazing red here. So subsurface scattering, lights going inside where there's no bone, like ears or nostrils. It's moving around. It's kind of shaking things up and then comes out the other side with this kind of beautiful, vibrant red. So let's see if we could do that here. It's such a slight difference, but it's a difference nonetheless. So gives the appearance that, you know, there's flesh inside that nostril, right? As opposed to, you know, just being this hole, right? We're going to do the same thing here in the corner of her eye. Now, everyone knows my 1 second rule, right? So I have to make sure that I have my reference to take care of this. Without the reference, I'm using my head. And I'm not one of those artists who can just paint out of memory. So I definitely don't want to do that. So I use Pure Ref, and I have the picture of my reference. And I'm going to put it the same size as my reference. And we're going to come in here and add this beautiful red because we want that subsurface scattering, right? It's not a black hole. And these are like little things when you finish your painting that you know if you do these things, it's not going to make a huge difference, but it'll make a bunch of little differences really make you look back at your painting and say, yeah, you know, I gave it 100%, you know, of where I was. I have some students, at times they will say, I want to go back and finish my painting. And I'm like, no. Paintings are documents, right? So, you know, your painting is where you are at a certain time in life. In your artistic journey, in your life journey, it's where you are. You chose that subject matter for some reason. You did it to your best of your ability at that time, and you signed it. And when you do that, you're saying, I worked my hardest. But let's say 10 years from now, you look back and you say, wow, what was I thinking with those lips? You know what? Going back does a disservice, because who you will be 10 years from now as an artist will be totally different. For you to touch it is almost sacrilegious. And, you know, it's like looking at your work from 10 years ago and saying, oh, that's crap, I can do better. No, that person at that time did the best they possibly could. And Nick says he just finished applying and filling body solder on a truck. I miss painting every day. Wow, that's pretty cool, Nick. That is very cool. Same thing here. I'm just going to, you know, the space between the lips, right? You can't have that like a dark brown, or a black. It just won't translate because of that subsurface scattering. If there was no blood inside her, then you just wouldn't even be a thing. So always pay attention. Again, like right here, we can use this idea of subsurface scattering and add some red to the crease here of the upper eyelid as it approaches the retroabicularis oculi fat pad, which is in between the upper eyelid and the eyebrow. Dwayne says he has been working on murals inside the meditation room of a woman's retreat for the last couple of weeks. Wow, that must be an kind of a spiritual experience, huh, sir? That's wild. Same thing here. I'm just going to add some of this dark red color here. It looks so much better when you use a rich dark red than just black. Okay, so really liking those little changes here and there. So that is cool. And let's see, so I'm looking at the far eye. And in this far eye, I see that it could go a little more round here. So let's see if we can make that happen. You know, you're not too far gone to make some changes. So what I'm going to do is I am going to find this color right here, which is Wicked Detail Raw Sienna. And that's what I talk about, how the Wicked line of paints are so much geared for fine artists, as well as custom painters. So here's the thing. So let's say you are, you're working with Createx, and you're working with Wicked, and you're doing the same thing you can do with illustration, but now you can paint on anything. So that's like a win-win. So in my opinion, learn Wicked, because I think the illustration is great, but I think it's limited. So I like the fact of Also working on something. A lot of artists don't exactly go down the wicked line, but I like that. And Astral says he still has to work, has work he did when he was 15. Oh, you still have work you did when you're 15. Airbrushing and drawing he did back then with a more digital modern take. Wow. Back then he didn't have much to choose from when it came to media. Oh, interesting. What paints did you use, sir? What brands? That's great info. So I'm going to put some of this detail raw sienna. I love raw sienna. It's one of my favorite paints when I'm working in oils as well. It's a rich kind of brownish yellow mustard, like a brown mustard color. And I love what it does to other colors. It shifts it over to the yellow side, but also kind of kills the saturation a little bit, which is not... Oh, gouache. Yes, gouache is amazing. I know Steve did gouache in the early days with airbrush, he mentioned. So I'm going to put some 4011 1-to-1 here, and we're going to see. This might be a little powerful, so I may add a little bit of raw umber in here. Let's see. Here we go. We have our okay, so it's super powerful. So I'm going to add a little tiny bit of raw umber. Now, I usually can spot it with my eagle eyes. Just kidding. Here we go. Here's detail raw umber. Okay, put this over here, a couple of drops. This might change it quite dramatically. We'll see. Yeah, it did. It's making it close to the color I'm looking for. Then I'm going to make a tint of this, which I'm going to take a second cup here, and I'm going to mix it with white. Right? And we'll do that. So we'll see how that goes. So the white of choice, since we're going wicked, is we're going to be using just wicked white 001. How you doing? Are you feeling okay, Mr. Todd? I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're not working too hard. It's great to see you, sir. A little bit of that wicked white. Okay, so you see how I have a tint of it? Let's see how this goes. All right, so I have my paintbrush. And let's go ahead and get a paintbrush here. Okay, now I need to make this eye a little more round. I may be sorry that I'm doing this, but you know what? This is the end of this painting. So speak now or forever hold your peace. So I'm going to take some of this. I'm going to do some dry brushing here. Astral says he used to paint with aged gouache. Aged gouache. When he used to saturate a ground with 2 or 3 colors and then would marble as they dried, then would go all zen and pull out what he saw. How that's wild. Definitely. So I'm going to start with this kind of transparent raw umber here. I mean raw sienna. I'm going to see how this goes. It's a little more rounded. Okay, so definitely, definitely what I wanted to do. So I feel okay that I took that chance. So all day long I'm working in oils. So when I come in with brushstroke techniques, it really is kind of very uh, kind of with ease, you know, because I am working with several mediums. So that's why several mediums is really important. Earlier today, working in oils, I was having some difficulty mixing the colors on the surface, on the palette. But being versed in pastel painting, where you mix on the surface, I was able to use those techniques to help me out. So, like what Astral says, using gouache could only help him on his travels in airbrush. And that is the truth. And very cool. So Astral was a hippie back then. So cool. Roger Dean was his vibe back then. He did the album cover for Asia, their debut album. Is that true? Gary has to go. Take care, Gary. Great to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for the super generous super chat and your friendship and hanging out today. I really appreciate you, sir. And I hope to see you over the weekend, on YouTube, on some live streams. It's always great to see you, sir. So thank you so much. So remember the tint that we had? Let's go ahead and work on the tint and see how that goes. Yes, definitely the yes covers. I really liked progressive rock back in the day. Alan Parsons Project. Those guys were great. So you see how I'm using that tint right now. Don't be afraid to change. Okay, so here's a loaded thing, right? I want you not to be afraid to make big changes like I'm doing today, but count the cost, okay? So ask yourself, is this a super need, right? Is this a super need to make this change? Because at the very end, you are making a calculated risk. So just know that. And, make sure you count the cost of making that change. Can it stay the way it is and you'll be okay with it? That's the kind of thing I want you to think about. So, yeah, it's definitely something you want to make sure. And now I do that, I can see the scalare is a little off. And the scalare is a technical term for the white of the eye. Now, why do you might ask, like, Tim, why do you got to say all those things? Sclera, sternocleidomastoid, the masseter, the maxilla. Because when I'm teaching, I want to say exactly what it is. Not that squiggly thing that's underneath the, you know what I mean? I want to be able to be very succinct and concise in, saying, okay, this is where you have to improve, as the saying, that little squiggly line or the white of the eyeball or something like that. This way there is no room for misinterpretation. That's pretty much why I do it. So we want to go ahead and create this. Now this is a gray. The white of the eye, which is so funny, is very rarely white. So almost never white. So the white of the eye is relatively white, but it's usually a cool blue with a little bit of flesh tone in it. So I'm running low on Wicked White, but I'm going to get as much as I can out of this. Yeah, that's ridiculous. So this is done. So we'll go ahead and put that into the circular file here. Let's see, what do we have here? We have more Wicked White. Okay, so we're good. Oh, your dad was growing up with Cheech and Chong. That's pretty funny. Yeah, Roger Dean is amazing. He's still painting, I hear. Isn't that great? There we are, Wicked White. Okay, so you all know whenever you open up a new color, you know, it's always going to be a little on the interesting side. So, meaning interesting, you got to watch out for messes and all that fun stuff. So here we are. So we have a lot of Wicked White here. And I'm going to add a little tiny bit of some gray I have mixed here. Now the gray I have is from the illustration paints. And then we're going to 4011 it. Yep, that's a verb. 4011 it. Let's see. Again, I like 1-to-1. Dwayne says he's definitely up there with his faves. Yeah. So my first painting, my first acrylic painting was the album cover of Asia, the first album, on my jean jacket. And I was going to art school, High School of Art and Design at the time, and I got like 3 or 4 commissions that summer, and I was just 15 years old, so that was cool. I remember I was working at a butcher shop in New York City, and the son of the owner, he was a graduate of St. John's University Art Department. And I asked him, I says, what do you think for my first painting? And he goes, that was a really good painting for your last painting. And I was like, wow, that's really something. You know, 15 years old, what did I know? Mr. Eastside, thank you so much for hanging. I appreciate that. Love seeing you work on Instagram. So thank you so much for being my friend on Instagram and on here. So I appreciate you, and I hope to talk to you soon. Take care, my friend. That is cool. Okay. So I think I'm close to a color that I'm looking for. So you see, this is definitely not white. Okay, so when you do one thing, it kind of dominoes into another, which is always fun. I'm dry brushing this. If it's too wet, you're not going to have the control. And in my painting, I'm a control freak. Not in life for other things, but in painting, I am a control freak. So I need this to turn. So it might be a little wet. There we go. Kind of fill this in. We'll let that dry before I go in with another layer. Now Nick is asking, my Instagram is Painted Glyphs. If you're referring to me, my friend. Yeah, I'd love to connect with you over on Instagram, that's for sure. Also, I'm noticing that I created more of a border here, so I'm going to lighten this up. And maybe just use a Q-tip to, whoop, Got to get a clean Q-tip. Kind of get rid of that edge there. I kind of made up that edge, and that's not good. Oh, great. Yes, painted glyphs. So definitely love to connect with you there, my friend. And that goes for anyone who wants to connect over at Instagram. Painted glyphs. Would love to hang and talk to you there. Okay, so I'm liking it. I'm okay with it. Do I still have more work to do? Yes. And that I have that white. Let's clean up that a little bit there. And you can use this almost like in pastel, where you just add some white as a transparent over the color to lighten it up, which is really cool. The old Q-tip ply. Yeah, I love Q-tips. They're great. Do you use Q-tips, Mr. Astral? Now, what's interesting here is I got a little tiny bit of paint. How that got there, nobody knows. So let me show you that. That's going to be interesting. Let's see how this goes. We may go to the loony bin together. Let's see. Going to move this over. See that? Not sure what that is. So I'm just... There we go. See, because it wasn't coming up, and you know, and you want to make sure that you use just enough force to pull it out, right? So from painting, you get these little specks, and let's see. There we go. So you see how, you know, the answer is often a lot easier than you think. There we go. That solved that. Let's see what else we have. You know, at the end of the painting, you have these little things that could be so annoying and so scary. So what you want to do is try and scrape just the paint, you know. There we go. So it's solving the problem. And Astral says yes to clean his airbrush. Okay, so that's why you use the Q-tips. That's cool. We all have our motives, right, to do that stuff. Let me go over here. And so I'm not a big X-Acto knife fan. I love these utility knives for a lot of reasons. Don't use X-Acto, you know, I don't cut as much as other artists. So I need something that's going to do what I want it to do, and I don't have to buy new blades, and that's kind of my thing. Oh, so Dave says he agrees it's a much better blade work than he did. Oh, well, you did some really good on that project we're working on, Sophia. I admire what you did. That was a great job. So me and Dave are working on a painting together in the mentorship program, and he made a great save. So it's amazing. So it goes back to the whole thing, you know, you watch my live streams. If you see a problem, just stop and assess the problem and then work on it. So don't be like, oh my God, I have to fix this. This is terrible, you know. There we go. So I think all the little doodads are gone, which is good. You know, that's good. Thank goodness, right? But you know, doesn't mean that it does. It doesn't mean that I'm not scared a little bit. You know, I'm scared a lot sometimes. Like, oh my God, how am I going to solve this issue, right? So that's definitely going to take a sip of my lemonade. No, my lemon and seltzer. Kind of like a seltzer lemonade, which I love. Okay, let's see. So now I let that dry so I can come back to the sclera. So I remember in the early 2000s, I got into computers and I wasn't painting at that time. My father just passed away. I moved back from Florida to New Jersey, got a regular job in the cellular industry, and I wasn't painting. So I got into computers and, you know, got into network security and all that stuff. But one of the things I got into was building computers, and that was really wild, you know? And I think that's why I am like I am, you know, because you can think about getting into computers. I had to know about motherboards and sound cards and random access memory. And it got to the point where I was building my own computers and, you know, making supercomputers and, you know, taking upon myself to try and get into networks I shouldn't have been, like government stuff and, you know, back then, you know, not government in the sense of like government security, but like universities, libraries, Blockbuster Video, did a lot of stuff like that, which was a lot of fun. And that's kind of the way I am with painting. So I took maybe about 5 years off, 10 years of painting, 5 years of not doing anything, you know, not drawing either. And when I came back, I kind of had that different mindset of a hacker. And that's kind of what I'm doing now, you know, when I'm working on this portraits, I'm thinking of being a hacker, you know. How do I break down this human form that we're painting, right? Break it down to its parts and recreate it. Well, you can't take a person apart unless you're Dr. Frankenstein, and that's not me. But we have anatomy books and stuff like that, you know, which is really cool. Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. I'm going to follow you back over on Instagram, that's for sure. And so that's cool. Now, I can't wait to see your work, Nick. So that's going to be great. I'm also going to use this white, which is very transparent, and I'm going to do some of the bald spots in her eyebrow, negative spaces in her eyebrow. See, these are things that are good to see, you know. I wouldn't like say go into this like 10% into the painting or 20% into the painting or even 50% in the painting, but at the end, this is the stuff you have to do. And it's fun, right? It's the fun stuff, isn't it? So that's cool. Let's move this over here. And notice I'm not being so literal with the eye. you know? It's my painting. So at the end of the day, I don't want to be that never was my intention to be a photorealist. I love photorealistic painting, but that's not my intention or my goal. I like the work of the old masters, Rembrandt. No one's going to mistake a Rembrandt for a portrait, right? So that's true. Okay. And let's widen a little bit of her eye here. When you open up that lamp and the genie comes out, you got to deal with the genie, and so that means you're going to have to do a little more than you originally planned. So that eye is a little more round than I'm giving it credit for, And then I'm going to come in with some raw umber, and we're going to do the dark edge of her beautiful eye here. There we go. Better, but maybe we could make this side a little more round. There we go. Okay, and then we'll come back with this white, this tint, right? And let's do a shade. So let's do a little bit of a, color theory kind of thing. We have tints and shades of a color. A tint is when you have a color like this raw umber and raw sienna color, right? And you add white and you get a tint. Well, you also conversely add black and you get a shade or a darker color. So we're going to explore that in a moment. And I went a little overboard with that, so we'll come back in with the actual raw sienna color. There we go. Okay. Now, if let's say you have too much color, use your Q-tip and you can pull that off. You don't want to fight it, right? So you can pull that off. It's no problem. Pull that up, I should say. Mr. Brad Mummery, all the way from Manitoba. How's it going? Did you guys get snow today? I know you were talking about snow last night in our class. Me and Brad are doing this really amazing master copy in oils. And, if you're in my class, if you're in my mentorship course, I won't force you to do other mediums, but, many of my students go into other mediums, and it just makes them better as an airbrush artist. Take care, Steve. Have a great day. Big day tomorrow. Wants to get going early. Take care, sir, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Sounds like you're going on a trip. So, vaya con Dios. Go with God, definitely. Always a pleasure, sir. Oh, so how much snow did you end up with, sir? Okay, so now we want to come in with a little bit of brown. So We have detail burnt sienna, which is nice. So let's see if we can do that. A little bit of detail burnt sienna never hurt anybody. There we go. Just a little dab will do us. A little bit of 4011. And your favorite color and mine, raw sienna. Well, I know it's not your favorite color, but it's not even mine, but I love it. Just a few inches, but roads are glare ice. Wow, that's no good. Since you were snowed in, get a lot of artwork done, sir? Okay, so now we have this kind of really nice golden brown. I would say it's like a burnt orange that we made. Dave, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for supporting the channel and being a great friend and always being supportive. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for that. And so that is so cool. So I really, really appreciate the support, my friend. You are amazing. So now what we're going to do is, it's so cool that, you know, you all come and hang out, but, you know, it's like on top of that, you support the channel, and that's really amazing. So I don't take that lightly. Thank you so much. Okay, so you see now I'm bringing in this little burnt sienna color. See, that's why Wicked is so great, because, you know, your fine artist is going to know about burnt sienna. That's been on my palette since I was 15 years old. So I know that so well, you know, which is great. There we go. And now I could come back in with that tint right over here, and then we're going to make our shade. Remember, you have the color, you have the tint adding white, and the shade adding a darker color. A little bit of drama going on in that eye. Why not, right? Why not? So now we have this beautiful detail raw umber, which is 0068. So is it apparent how much I love the Wicked line of color? So next week, it looks like we're going to be doing a new project. So here's something that I'll give to you. Do you want to see a project in color? Just go ahead and write color, or you want to see it in India ink. So go ahead and let me know what you think. You don't have to. But it's going to be a portrait, because that's what I do. So one color for Mr. Brad, ink for Mr. Dave Gregory. Very cool. 1-to-1 so far. Let's see what the people are going to speak. So 1-to-1. So the question is, do you want the next project to be in black and white using my Airbrush India inks, or in color using the amazing Wicked line of paints? So that's cool. So right now we're deadlocked at 1. Oh, Nick says tails. Yes, I hear you. I'm an artist that don't like having paint on my hands. So I'm going to get a baby wipe. Baby wipes are probably the art studio's best friend. Ever since I was in art school when I was just a young whippersnapper. Okay, we have a Wicked 2-1. So, and oh, 2-2, we have a monochrome. So that's interesting. Monochrome, I don't think I'm going to be doing that live stream. I haven't done monochrome in a long time. Uh, hey, Bobby, how's it going? But that's a great idea for the future. I would have to do a dry run monochrome. So definitely. Uh, but yeah, I've done monochrome in the early days of my airbrushing, and that was quite fun. You know, I did a lot of the. I did one with blue, which was really cool. So that's good. And okay, so look how amazing one baby wipe is. It's really great. So one of Wayne's favorites to do. Very cool. Yeah, your work is amazing. That's for sure. And Bobby says, say color. Sepia monochrome is great. Yes, so true. So now I'm going to work on the edge of our angel's beautiful eye here. Oh, candy is wonderful. I love candies. Oh, wow. Good choice. Good choice with the raw umber. Color purple. Wow. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Uh, yeah. Oh, doing my. Yeah, definitely. That's something I would have to do a dry run because I haven't done it so much in a long time, Dwayne. So definitely before in 2025, definitely, I promise. That would be fun. I did one in 2023, I think, or 2020, oh, 2022 I did. Oh, Astral said changed his mind, ink, so it looks pretty dead even right now. Okay, so definitely. So I'm loving working on her eye right now, so it was a good decision. So I'm just going to use the young men's room, and I will be right back. So talks amongst yourselves with the great airbrush knowledge you all have, and I'll be right back, guys. Hey, I'm back. Thank you so much for waiting. I appreciate that. So thank you so much. So let's see. We're working on her beautiful eye. And now so you can use colors like sepia and, raw umber to do a lot of different things. Let's see here. See, I'm just going to do a little drawing with my raw umber. And so now I can do the edge of her beautiful iris. And then it kind of gets that kind of greenish edge here. Let's see. So yeah, I think we're okay. But definitely check, Bobby. I did have it on pause, so it might have seemed like it was cutting in and out. Solar flares. Very cool. So what I like to do, and I talked about the video I made for my introduction, that I was going to go over my checklist. So what I do when a painting's at this stage is I make a checklist, I look at it, and I ask myself, what are 10 things I can do to improve the painting? And I write them down, and then I go and do another 10. And then if I can't find 10, I do a 5, and then 2, and then, pretty much if there's nothing I can do to fix the painting, then I say, okay, it's time to sign it. So that's basically it. Oh, Astral said his son's laptop blew up the other day. Oh my God. So did it actually blow up or just kind of go kaput? But definitely let me know what happened. Is he okay? And in a moment, we're going to come in with that highlight and really, really have that pop. Okay. And then here, we'll look at our other eye. Well, actually, I'm going to come back in with that beautiful tint. Just lighten this up here. That's too bright. Oh, cool. Okay, I'm glad it's, is it fixed, Bobby? On your end? Astral says, we couldn't figure out why, that's why I came up with. He said it could have set fire to the house. Oh my God. Yeah, electronics can definitely be damaging, dangerous. More ways than one. Okay, so now I'm happy with this. And now this is where the whole idea of quantum mechanics comes in with different reflections, right? So if something is not absorbing, it doesn't have the power to absorb color, it's going to release most of the color that comes near it. And that's why you have your more detailed highlights, because it doesn't have the strength to actually absorb anything, and that's why you have these strong reflections. So I'm going to use the same color that I had with the sclera, which is not quite white. And yeah, they are mostly made of wood. Wow, that's so frightening. Thank God he's okay, my friend. You know? Oh, Bobby says he fixed it. That's good. And let's zoom in on her eye again. Let's see how this goes. There we go. So you'll have a hard edge, and the reason why you'll have a hard edge, in the eye is because the eye does not absorb anything. So that's why you'll see, a real hard edge in the highlight of the eye because there's no absorption, right? So in quantum mechanics, if it doesn't absorb, it releases the exact color that comes in. And color that is straight from the sun or from the light bulb usually is like a pure white. And so that's why you see that. So, I love the science of light and the science of color. It really helps me to understand what it is I'm painting. So chances are your highlights are going to be a sharp shape, okay? Like, it'll probably be, if it's a window, it'll be that sharp shape of that window. Okay, not bad. And now you see she's looking really a little more life to her, right? So I'm glad I made that decision earlier. That decision to fix the shape of the iris. $4,000 new laptop, and he got his money back. Wow, that must be some laptop. I think I want a laptop like that one day. Okay, and then we're going with that far eye, right? So let's go to the far eye. Camera right. And it's lighter here. So cute. Okay, now there's this light right here. So you got me. I don't know what the corner of her eye is, that little shape. So that's something I'm looking up. I'm hard on myself when it comes to anatomy because, if your life's work is going to be painting something, you best know what it is you're painting, So I'm very hard on myself with anatomy. So I definitely dropped the ball not knowing what that's called. But how can you be hard on your students if you're not hard on yourself, right? So that's important. A nuclear laptop costs. Wow. Is there such thing as a nuclear laptop? Uh, that I don't know, but, I don't know like top tech, I try and get a little bit of tech. Oh, okay, so you're pulling my leg, Mr. Dave. I know quantum computers is something that's 10 years away, although people talk about it a lot, you know. So, I do like the way her eye came out, I'm happy with it. And there's a little bit of life in those eyes. Let's take a look at her lips. That's another thing that was on my agenda, right? Things, the NVIDIA graphics. Okay, so is he doing AI work? Because, I know the NVIDIA graphics card is far more expensive than than uh, than regular CPUs at this point. Oh, that was good. That was good. Okay, so that's it. Yeah. that could, the NVIDIA chips could definitely. So I try to stay up on AI, and what they're finding right now, which is quite interesting, is that AI is kind of reaching a bottleneck where they think that the real large incremental advances kind of slowed down a little bit. So I find that interesting. So maybe things will slow down a little bit, but a lot has to do with the CPUs, the graphic CPUs, and the energy that they're using. So that's kind of slowing things down. So that's interesting. Bobby got a 3080 graphics card in his computer. Wow, that's really great. That's fantastic, sir. Yeah, so that is definitely what is in now is definitely the graphics cards. I remember I got my biggest upgrade was probably getting a really good graphics card when I was watching videos, and a sound card when I was watching DVDs in the, I would say in the early 2000s, and I was downloading music on Napster and stuff like that. So, okay, so now we're going to put some life in those beautiful lips. And how are we going to do that? Let's see. Okay, so I am going to use, I'm going to use some of these Lifeline colors, Natural Lip. We'll see what that does, right? Until AI can paint on objects, it doesn't really affect me. Oh, I understand, Dwayne, definitely. I use AI every day, and I don't want to bore everybody, you know, with what I do, but, you know, how I use it, but I use it all the time, you know, so I use the cloud with AI, so I don't do anything, you know, actually on the, I don't do anything, you know, on my GPU or anything like that. Astral says he's doing a desktop build now, waiting on a delivery of parts. Wow, so cool. So very cool. But if you're writing text, if you have your own company, AI is definitely, like the introduction video I did, that was done with AI. And, you know, so it's amazing what can be done. So the instructional videos, the courses that I'm making now, that's all done with AI too. Also, if I do a blog post, it's assisted with AI. So AI is definitely an important part of my workflow. But as far as like AI helps me with a lot of my teaching methods, you know, kind of helps me to, you know, kind of get my thoughts together for teaching, which is really good. I take teaching really seriously. Now, this is as it comes out, and this is from the Lifeline colors. So that's not light enough, so I'm going to add some of the gray to it. So I'm going to find my light gray. And this is going to be basically illustration. You can mix them in your painting, so that's okay. Dwayne has done a couple of things customers have brought to him. AI images. Yes. AI is really fantastic for upscaling images that have low resolution. You can also use AI to change backgrounds, which is fantastic, or let's say you have a portrait and it cuts off at the head here. You can use AI to kind of fill in the blanks, so you are not limited to that. So that's cool. So AI is really, really wonderful in a lot of senses for the workflow of an artist like yourself, Dwayne. So definitely. Oh yeah, so that's cool, you know. AI is a wonderful tool to kind of help people to kind of get their thoughts out, you know, what they have in their head and get it out to real life. So that's not bad. There's a lot of good to AI, which I do enjoy. Let's see. I'm going to add a little bit of illustration white to this. Running low on some paints here. Okay, that's a little light, but I think that'll do me. Maybe just a tiny bit of this lip color from the Lifeline. Tiny bit more. Okay. So I don't use my color mixing method on the live streams because I haven't made it public yet, but when it does, you'll be seeing that all the time. Let's see here. Okay, where are we? And what's our time? Right now we are at 11:15, so we're moving pretty quickly. Let's see. How many super chats did I get? 1, 2, 3. So I got 3 super chats today. That was great. Thank you guys. So if you want to see this tomorrow, I just need 2 more super chats of any size, and I will do a super chat tomorrow to finish this up online. So thank you for the 3 so far. I appreciate yous. Okay, so now I'm going to be working on her lips here. Dry brush this. Add a little bit more of this beautiful red color, this red lip color here. Brad says she's eternally looking great, Tim. Beautiful work. Oh, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I really am enjoying painting her. You know, I think it was friction spell correct. I just want to bring some life into her lip here. It was a little bit of a dead color. So there's nothing wrong with bringing life into it. Wow, Dave with a super chat. Thank you so much. The second of the day. So Dave wants a second live stream tomorrow, and that would be great for our UK people. So we just need 1 super chat. It could be for $2.99. It doesn't matter. But I will go ahead and do the live stream tomorrow for you. And of course, it's going to be recorded. So you'll all see that very last kind of John Hancock I'm going to put on this painting here. So I'm glazing the lip color a little more rich. And then I'm going to come in with those highlights that I did in the eye. Because remember, the smoother the surface, really, Dave says, really, I just want to outbid Gary. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So we just need 1 more super chat, and we'll have a live stream tomorrow, a bonus live stream. So yeah, we were doing a lot of a lot of airbrush techniques last couple of weeks, so it's good to have a paintbrush session with you all. While my wet palette is being defunct, I am just winging it. Just putting some rich lip color as she deserves. So really, thank you. This live stream has been, Wicked has amazing flesh colors. But it's just, you know, as far as like out of the bottle, I don't know too much about that. I know that I'd rather probably mix my own flesh colors, but when I'm doing an underpainting, you know, having pre-mixed is great for underpainting. Maybe that's me being lazy, because I can mix the colors. Now I'm going to come in with the tint. Remember, we have a tint and we have, you know, we have the color and then we have the shade. So that's something to think about. Tint, shade, and the color, the tint and the shade. So that's a good technique for kind of getting the different values in color. And just by doing this, you create a little bit more of expression in those beautiful lips. Dwayne says he mixes most of all colors except flesh tones. He don't do a lot of people, and that's all I do, right? So I can understand that. Definitely. There's going to be a slight little bit of a reflected light on the bottom of the upper lip, which is reflecting the light on the bottom lip, and that creates really a nice look. And then, you know, the lip is kind of divided into three. You know, you have the two wings and you have the center little tubule, whatever that is called. I think it is the tubule. So we're just gonna lighten that up a bit. So tomorrow, oh, there we go, Air Todd. So tomorrow at 12:30, we will have a live stream finishing this one up, and everyone who's on the mailing list will get an email of that. So thank you, Todd, for the 5th super chat. So tomorrow, because we are at 11:22, I thought we were gonna finish it up. So that's great. Thank you so much, Todd, all the way from San Diego. Thank you, sir. It's very encouraging. I appreciate it. So Mr. Air Todd and Mr. Dave pulled it out at the end, you know, bottom of the 9th, right? So great. Okay, so now, since I have this here, now I'm going to do the tint, right? I mean, so we did the color, we did the tint, now we're going to do the shade. And the shade doesn't necessarily have to be black, right? It just has to be a darker version of that color. So that's why you mix a good amount of this color. And we're going to put that over here. And then we're going to get a darker version of that so we can paint some of the dark side of that three-dimensional form. Oh, great, definitely. But don't worry, if you don't wake up for it, it'll be on record so you can check it out. And thank you so much, Mr. Todd. I appreciate you. So, what do I want? You know what? I really like that color we had earlier, that dark color, the wicked opaque. It wasn't just opaque black, but it was like, what was it? What was that color? Okay, I know it was like a magenta. How about like, let's see what we have here. Oh, here we go. Maybe we'll mix some black magenta with this, right? Just a little bit. That might be good. Just to get the dark of that lip a little bit. I'm going to add one drop, a drop. And I did speak to the great people, Dennis over in particular, over at Createx, and he assured me that you can mix Wicked and illustration together, no problem. I believe him. So now I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. We're going to see what this does. It might be one drop, maybe two drops. But remember, the black magenta was not as strong as the red. Remember earlier? Dwayne says, I do it all the time. Better be okay. That's true. You have the experience, Dwayne, so I count on your experience. Definitely. We're going to go with 3 drops because I'm wacky. And so now we want a darker version. I think we're getting there. And you see how the dark, it's not dark, it's still luminous. It still has some light in there. I'm just going to put a tad bit of 4011, maybe 1 drop, because it's kind of not burning. Melting, I should say, not burning, right? Get with the program, Tim. Let's see. There we go. And we're just going to mix that really well. So thanks so much for the live stream tonight. This went really quickly. So when my live streams go quickly, like when I look up and it's 11:30, that's because you all are so great, you know, and so gracious, and, you know, such great conversation going on. It's like I get into this, you know, this time kind of has a whole different kind of concept, you know, and it goes by so quick, and that's great. I just want to say thank you to everyone who was here tonight. Sometimes the day goes by, you know, painfully slow, and tonight's live stream was just really special. So thank you, everybody. Definitely a special time in my life, and not just for the day, but in my life, you know. You know, you hope you have times like this where you hang out with great people and you have great conversation and everyone's just cool to one another, you know. And that's what tonight was for me. So thank you. I don't know much, but I know when, you know, there's great moments in my life, and, you know, it's when we do have great moments in our lives, we just have to stop and appreciate it before it's over, you know, before this live stream is over, to really just step back and say, wow. So thank you, everybody. So we will see everybody tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Time, and I'll have an email on Facebook, and if you're on the mailing list, you'll get an email from me, which is really cool. kind of bring this over, this dark. So from the beginning of our painting, we know that, hey, we have a much better, more, you know, a much better luminous lip there, you know. Before it was looking kind of dead. Ah, thank you, sir. Oh, great. Thanks, Dwayne. Dwayne says he'll try to make it tomorrow. Thank you so much, Mr. Dave. Always a pleasure. I appreciate you guys. So 11:29. So I'm going to try and hit this lip. Brad says, thanks for another great live stream. Have a good night. Take care, Mr. Brad. Always a pleasure. So remember, if something's doesn't have any power to kind of absorb those photons and particles of light, you're going to have a much more pure reflection, because the surface that hit that light was not strong enough to absorb anything. Okay, so let's take a look. And okay, there she is. Look at that expression, you know, that's what I'm looking for. That beautiful expression on her face. So tomorrow we're going to finish up. Thank you, everybody. Todd and everyone, you all are fantastic. I hope you all have a great night. Thanks for hanging with me. I will see you tomorrow in 13 hours, 12:30 Eastern Time. Thank you so much, Astral. I appreciate you, and I had a blast as well. Take care, everybody.